When you buy a pair of shoes or a phone online, the checkout process is frictionless. A screen confirms the purchase, and a few days later, the item arrives at your door. We rarely think about the physical origin of the product. While the digital transaction takes a fraction of a second, moving the actual matter from a factory in Asia to a doorstep in Europe or North America requires a massive industrial effort across thousands of miles of open ocean. This chart visualizes the scale of that effort. According to UNCTA data, over 80% of all international trade, by volume, and over 70% by value, travels by sea. The mechanism driving this volume is the standardized steel shipping container. By uniforming cargo dimensions, goods transfer seamlessly from a factory floor to a truck to a ship's hold without being unpacked, securely stacking together regardless of the shipping line. The success of the shipping container lies in how effectively it hides the labor behind it. The system functions with such high efficiency that society rarely acknowledges the immense ocean network required to sustain its daily consumption. The physical nodes of this network are transshipment hubs like the Port of Singapore, which process tens of thousands of containers every single day. To manage this volume, block storage areas rely on centralized software. Driverless vehicles, guided by ground sensors, navigate the grid to deliver steel crates exactly where they need to go, keeping humans clear of the machinery. Despite this level of automation, specific jobs still demand human intervention. When a cargo ship needs to transport a 70-ton propeller that will not fit into a standard container, stevedores and bridge operators must calculate dimensions and manually secure the load. These crews operate on razor-thin margins. Each vessel is assigned a strict window to dock. Even a brief technical malfunction or a slight shift in the tide can disrupt the sequence, forcing following ships to adjust their speed and fuel consumption to manage the changing schedule. Modern transshipment hubs function as synchronized digital transit valves, prioritizing high throughput over long-term storage to ensure the global movement of goods remains constant. Out on the open water, the scale of the machinery becomes difficult to comprehend. A fully loaded container vessel can measure nearly 400 meters in length, carrying stacks of steel boxes high above its deck. The economics of this journey rely on maximizing volume. A single megaship can haul the equivalent cargo of roughly 20,000 heavy trucks on a highway, driving down the cost of transporting an individual item to fractions of a cent. This table outlines the strict classifications governing the maritime fleet. While container ships carry manufactured goods, raw materials and energy resources require entirely different vessel architectures. Dry bulk carriers transport loose commodities like grain, coal, and iron ore. Tens of thousands of tons of material are poured directly into their massive open holes. Liquid tankers, featuring long flat decks and complex networks of piping, are heavily regulated environments. They are specifically engineered to safely transport crude oil, liquid natural gas, and hazardous chemicals. To increase profit margins, shipping companies continuously order larger vessels. As a result, modern ships are outgrowing their own infrastructure, struggling to safely clear the heights of older bridges or navigate the shallow drafts of legacy shipping channels. Even with these logistical hurdles, specialized megaships remain the only cost-effective delivery mechanism capable of moving the tonnage required to feed populations and supply power plants worldwide. Because this system coordinates millions of moving parts across global distances, it is highly sensitive to friction. A severe storm, a low tide on a critical river, or heavy congestion in a narrow geographic choke point can force a 300-meter vessel to cut its engines and wait. A delay in one hemisphere creates an immediate ripple effect in another. If a ship waits at anchor for 3 extra days, its scheduled containers miss connecting trucks. Empty boxes pile up at ports, throwing global schedules off by weeks. When transport capacity tightens and shipping schedules break down, freight rates surge. Companies absorb the initial hit, but those increased transportation costs eventually appear on the price tags of consumer goods. The maritime network functions with minimal redundancy. When local bottlenecks strand cargo in empty containers, the resulting surge in logistics costs can lead to higher prices for finished goods and raw materials at the point of consumption. Moving forward, the industry must navigate a severe structural challenge: the mandate to decarbonize a global fleet that currently burns millions of tons of heavy fuel oil. Transitioning away from conventional fuels demands immense capital. Companies must invest in unproven clean fuels, retrofit active ships, and overhaul port bunkering infrastructure. This UNCTAD chart projects the financial reality. As shipping companies adopt green technologies to cut emissions, baseline logistics costs climb. But these increases hit unequally. Small island developing states already pay higher premiums and have less capacity to absorb transition costs, threatening essential imports. To modernize, global shipping must resolve a difficult paradox: securing the planet's environmental survival while protecting the economic survival of its most vulnerable populations. Back at the terminal, the ocean voyage concludes, and the inland journey begins. Giant spreaders lift the standardized steel boxes from the port and place them onto freight trains or truck chassis, pushing them deep into the continent. A few days later, the seal on the container is broken at a regional warehouse. The contents are sorted, boxed, and driven a few final miles to a local storefront or directly to a residential address. Every consumer object we touch represents the final stage of an immense journey, enabled by an interconnected maritime machine that operates constantly, just over the horizon.